Look who it is. Say hello. You're so big now. Remember when you were Diddy? Why don't you love me anymore? Love me. There you go, that's better. Say hello. Nope. That's a risky game, dude. That's a risky game. Hello and welcome back to another video. It feels like forever since I've sat down and filmed a video, so if I'm a little bit rusty, sorry about that. Yes, this already feels rusty. A little insert at the beginning so then I don't get interrupted in the middle of a video. The cat is playing with an elastic band that I'm going to take off him because that's not good. This poor book, it's fallen about 10 times. Yes, the cat is quite hyper at the moment. He is playing in the background, so sorry for the little background shuffling noises. That will be Leo. Okay, so today I have a very exciting video because I'm doing a book haul and I think it is my most favourite book haul that I've ever done. Like, favourite collection of books that I have acquired. I got them mostly for Christmas. There are 2 books that I didn't technically get for Christmas, but I pre-ordered them and I picked them up whilst I was home for Christmas, so technically, I got them for Christmas. So, I'm gonna start in the video. I think I have like 15 books to share with you. Three of them I think are not here physically because I couldn't carry them all with me back up to York because that was a heavy bag anyway with most of these books in it. Plus I had the cat carrier because the cat went home with me for Christmas. So that was a challenging train journey, but well worth it because now I have all these beautiful babies with me and the cat. The first book I'm going to talk about is one I'm actually currently reading, so I'm about that far through it, and that is Upside Down, but you know, I'm just going to change that because that annoys me. So the first book we have is Witch by Finbar Hawkins. This is strange, mainly because of the writing style. It is written in colloquial form, in kind of broken English, so it took me a while to get into. I'm not sure I'm a big fan of writing that kind of more than just like the speech is written in in colloquial language. I guess it makes sense if it's written in first person, which it is. So yeah, I just don't personally enjoy it because I can't get into it as easy and I don't tend to connect to the characters as much just because there's that second like barrier, I suppose. But his writing style is quite beautiful. There are some beautiful imagery in there and I'm enjoying that aspect for it. Plus I am quite in a witch mood at the moment. Everything I seem to be reading is to do with like fairy tales and witches. So it's kind of like, what's it called? Satisfying that need that I have at the moment to read that kind of thing. It is beautiful. It follows a girl who witnesses her mother's death because she is a witch and she kind of goes on this revenge hunt to find these men and I'm assuming kill them. I haven't got to that part, so I don't know. That is my assumption. And yeah, it's quite a short book, but it is taking me quite a while to read. It's less than 400 pages and the writing is quite big. It does have like little drawings as well at each chapter, which is quite nice. Mainly because of uni work, to be fair, not necessarily the book, but yeah, I think the writing style is taking me a little bit longer to get through than I thought it would, but yes, enjoying it so far. Next I have some Jane Austen classics. I only have one of them here with me because I need to exchange it, but I think I've picked up the wrong one because I already have it. So this is Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. I read this earlier in the summer. As I already had a copy of this edition, I am going to swap it for, I think, one that I don't have, which will be Persuasion. Is the only one I think now that I don't have of this edition. That could be wrong, let me just double check. Either Persuasion or Sense and Sensibility. I think maybe Sense and Sensibility because that's one I actually want to read more than Persuasion at the moment. So yes, I got this edition in Mansfield Park. I also got it in Pride and Prejudice and Emma, and the Emma cover is my favourite. It is just gorgeous and I love it. It's also my favourite Austen that I've read so far, so I'm so glad to have that in my collection. I will put pictures of what they look like, but they're kind of like this size. They're quite nice to hold, like they're a satisfying size to hold in your hand, if that makes sense. Probably not, but there you go. So yes, Mansfield Park is following a bunch of like people that live in Mansfield Park. It's a romance, obviously. It's an Austen. And then obviously you've got Pride and Prejudice, which is kind of classic romance of Austen, and Emma, which is like a kind of dating setup version of life. That doesn't make any sense, does it? It's about a girl, Emma, who is obsessed with setting up people in her life and it's good, it's good. You should watch it, it's very funny. Watch it, read it. The next book I have is one I'm really excited to get to and I'm hoping to read soon. It is a collection of short stories, so it'll be quite easy, I think, to consume, and that is the Tales from Russian Folklore by Alexander Afans. I don't know how to say that, but that is the cover. It is lovely. It's a nice little, again, quite sturdy book, and it has a heck of a lot of tales in it. So this is the contents page, can you see that? And there are all these stories in it. I am in a very fairy tale mood and I wanted to expand my knowledge on fairy tales and actually read the source fairy tale stories. And Russian folklore is not one that I know much about, just kind of like little bits here and there. So I'm very interested to get to read this one. I'm glad I now have it in my collection. The next book I have is one I again don't have in physical form, but I do have another book in that edition. So I brought it with me anyway, just to kind of so you could see kind of how it looks and size wise. But I got Dr. Chivago and this in the same edition as I have my Anna Karenina. So it is this big. Like, I don't really know what is going on with these vintage classic editions. This is also the vintage classic edition of the Austens. They're like all over the place with their sizes. So the Austens are much smaller than a normal paperback. Like if we take a look at the Russian folklore, like it's much smaller, but then the Russian classics are massive. I mean, they are massive anyway. Like this is a chunky boy, so that may be why, but they're huge. They're like kind of just a little bit smaller than a like science fiction fantasy hardback. So intriguing, but these are beautiful editions. Dr. Chivago sounds very interesting. I can't wait to read it. I'm hoping to read it this year, probably not till summer, but I'm also hoping to read this as well, so it's going to be a Russian-tastic year. The next book I have is another massive paperback, but it is beautiful, and that is the fairy tales, or the complete fairy tales of Hans Christian Andersen. Another one I'm more familiar with, like the Grimm stories, obviously, so I think it will be definitely interesting to see a different kind of renowned fairy taleist and see his stories. And it's also a beautiful, beautiful book. I am hoping to get the Grimm's tales in the same edition. It is a Wordsworth, yes, a Wordsworth edition. These are quite chunky. They also have, I think, the complete Sherlock Holmes, the complete Austens, and I want to say there's a few more, but in these editions, so if that's something you're interested in, then check them out. But it is lovely. It is chunky as well. Oh, it's also got little illustrations in it, which is nice. That's the Little Mermaid. I just love fairy tales, and I think having them as collections is just quite nice to have in your kind of like home library, just to kind of like look up in, because they come up in stories all the time, don't they? You're constantly reading retellings and things of that, so it would be nice to be able to read the original source before reading the retelling. The next I have is another retelling of fairy tales. So it's like one I made earlier. This is actually a poetry collection by Nikita Jill called Fierce Fairy Tales. It's quite short and sweet. I haven't read this yet. I'm looking forward to reading this because I think I've read some good reviews of it. And I have another book of Nikita Jill's, which I also got for Christmas, which is Great Goddesses. I have also read this already and I'm going to be using it in my dissertation. So that is exciting. There are positives and negatives about this. I won't go into too much detail because I will be doing it in my wrap up at the end of the month. But there are some beautiful lines in this that I have highlighted and I really enjoyed reading it. It is modern poetry. She was an Instagram poet, or still is, I believe. So check her out on Instagram. And she does have 2 other collections, I think, apart from these. So check those out and they sound interesting. It is quite easy to read. I read this in a day. I didn't read the entire day pretty much, but I'm a slow reader. So it is quite easy to consume Instagram poetry. So like, I think Ruby Carr was an Instagram poet. So it has similar kind of feels as a genre to that, but obviously it's different writing style and content. I feel like I'm not making any sense. Okay, so the next book is one that I pre-ordered, so technically I didn't get it for Christmas, but I received it at Christmas personally. It arrived at my house long before then, but I obviously wasn't there to open it. And this is this bad boy. This is the, I want to say fourth book. The 4th book in the Way of Kings series that Brandon Sanderson does. I talk about it all the time, so I'll try not to repeat everything I say in every single video. But this is a massive epic fantasy series. It is his biggest series. his most detailed series, his grandest series, and it is pretty incredible. I would highly recommend if you are into fantasy, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I pre-ordered this before I'd even started the series, before I even owned the first 3 books, but luckily I did enjoy them, so I still have one more to read before getting to this one. But this was the Waterstones signed edition, so Brandon Sanderson has signed it, and it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of art. I need to take that sticker off. So yes, love it. Would recommend. Follows quite a few characters, quite a few storylines, and it is quite slow paced, especially the first book is a lot of ground building, because it is meant to be, I think, a 10-book series, so there needs to be a lot of ground building in it. But the ending is just amazing and you will love it, of the first book. And the second book was pretty good ending, but sweet. The next book I got is one that my mum also bought for herself, so we're gonna buddy read this maybe if she wants. But this is Love in Colour by Bolu Babaloa. Sorry if I messed that up, but I think that's how you pronounce it. And this is mythical tales from around the world retold, which instantly just grabbed my attention because I like mythological retellings. And I think I've only really read either Norse, I don't think I've read that many of that, if any, or Greek mythology. So I'm excited to read something outside of that kind of genre. And this just, it's a lovely colour. It's a lovely cover, and it feels nice as well. Like it's that kind of silicone-y thing. I don't know specifically what it is retelling, the stories, but the blurb, just like the kind of brief one, is a highborn Nigerian goddess feels beaten down and unappreciated by her gregarious lover and longs to be truly seen. A young businesswoman attempts to make a great leap in her company and an even greater one in her love life. A powerful Ghanaian spokeswoman is forced to decide whether to uphold her family's politics or to be true to her heart. So I think it's like a modern retelling. Like, yeah, I think so. I don't know, but I'm intrigued to find out. The next book is another another retelling of mythology, and that is Stephen Fry's Troy. This is one I pre-ordered again, and it is another one signed. I mean, look at those end pages, aren't they just snazzy? Signed by Stephen Fry. He's got such a nice little neat signature, and I'm so excited to get it. I think it is kind of similarly laid out to his Mythos and Heroes, if you read that. I love those books. So I'm very excited to get to this, and I'm hoping to read it soon. But I maybe I'll leave it till summer, just because I'm doing retellings of Troy in my dissertation, so it might confuse me, and I get confused very easily. I've already changed my books halfway through the year, which is a bit scary. So maybe I will have to leave this until after then, just so that I'm not confused. But there we go. And then the last book I have physically with me here is The History of Magic, From Alchemy to Witchcraft, From the Ice Age to the Present by Chris Gosden. He is a professor in something, I don't know, it just says he's Professor Chris Gosden. So I'm assuming it's in like history or archaeology, and it just goes through a history of magic from kind of based on archaeological sites that they've discovered around the world. And I think it'll be very interesting, and I'm excited to see what that unfolds. It's also a lovely book, like I really like this cover. So the final few books that I have, the last book I have, I don't know, I left 3 books at home, but I took all these in a backpack. Why did I think those last 3 books would be too heavy to carry? I don't know. I do not know. But the last book I have is Ancient Egyptian Magic. I'm going to look this up just because I can't really remember exactly what it is. It's a book by Christina Riggs, and it is apparently an entertaining and informative introduction to how ancient Egyptians practiced magic in their daily lives. In the ancient world, if you needed a love charm, wanted to contact your dead wife, or needed the ability to fly like a bird, the magicians of Egypt were the ones that you could make it happen. And in Ancient Egyptian Magic, Christina Riggs explores how the Egyptians thought about magic, who performed it and why, and also helps readers understand why we've come to think of ancient Egypt in such a mystical way. I think that'll be fascinating. It's also quite a short book, so I don't think it's going to be like a drag to get through. So I'm very excited about that. You can see a theme running through these books. It's like either mythology, fairy tales, or Brandon Sanderson, and some classics in there, you know, because gotta throw in some classics. So there we go, that is my book haul for Christmas. I hope you had a good Christmas. It's ages ago now, like it's the end of January now, But I hope you had a good Christmas. I hope you had a fabulous new year. I hope 2021's going okay. It hasn't been the best over here, but you know, it's gonna be better. And yeah, the cat's actually been alright, hasn't he? Don't know where he's gone. Leo? Bubby? I hope he hasn't choked on an elastic band. It's like my nightmare now. He ate one the other day. I'm gonna stop rambling. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know what Christmas books you got, what's your favourite, what you want to read in 2021, how your 2021's going. Just let me know how your life is in the comments below. And I shall see you, oh, and subscribe if you would like to, because I'd appreciate it. And like the video, all that snazzy stuff. And I shall see you in the next one, hopefully very soon.